Stretching a canvas is one thing, but unstretching a canvas, I don't even know if that's a correct term, but unstretching a canvas is a whole nother animal. So let's just jump into it. First off, I'd recommend doing it in a clean area so that you can place it face down, have the back part exposed. Now, depending upon how the staples or tacks were placed into the back side of the canvas, you need to carefully remove those. And the best way that I found out how to do that is using a screwdriver. So I just used a flathead screwdriver and pulled out each one of those staples one at a time, kind of like I'm showing right now. And it did take a little while, about 10 minutes, to be able to take all the staples out. The staples were spaced about every 3 inches on this canvas, and this is called a gallery wrap, meaning, or museum wrap, one of the two. Meaning I painted all the way around the edges because I did not frame this art piece. I also made sure that when I made these stretcher bars, I didn't glue them together. I just used hardware to be able to keep them together. Just screws and a couple of nails to kind of tack things into place. You want to be able to remove or break down the stretcher bars. If they're glued together, then you're going to have issues and you won't be able to compact the stretcher bars and ship them off with the painting. So this, due to its size, I want to break it down and make it smaller, and I want to be able to make it portable. This painting is 7.5 by 11.5 feet, and I did it in graduate school at the University of Utah, and it's titled 3 Oracles. I was in a fun little experimentation mode at the university, and there was a running competition between me and another artist on how big we could make our pieces and fit them through the doorway. And this is about the biggest that we could do. When I moved from Salt Lake City down to St. George, Utah, I couldn't find a moving truck big enough to be able to put it in. I mean, if I took it on its own in a moving truck, I could have done that, but I didn't want to spend the money on it. So I had to unstretch this canvas. So let's get into it and talk about what needs to happen for unstretching your canvas. Oh, here's a funny little story. While I'm taking these staples out of the back side of the canvas, at the University of Utah, I had finished my graduate degree and I had to get my paintings out. And this one was freaking huge. So I borrowed my brother's trailer, took this art piece and leaned it up against the A-frame trailer. I was driving around downtown Salt Lake, taking it to my house, and everybody is seeing 3 nudes on a big painting as I was driving around. I was getting some pretty fun looks. But either way, I digress. Once you've removed all of the staples out of the back of the canvas, you need to fold it open. Now, this painting by this time was about 7 years old, no cracks or anything in it, and you have to kind of remove the edges after all the staples have been removed so that you can expose the wood. Now, this wood that I used for these stretcher bars is basswood. Basswood is relatively soft, but very stable. It doesn't twist and warp very much. It costs about the same as poplar, but I really like basswood. You can carve with it, you can shape it, and it holds its shape pretty well. So after you remove the painting off of the stretcher bar, flip the canvas over, you need to roll it from one end. And it's recommended to roll the canvas face in. So you don't want to have the canvas face down and roll it so that the artwork is facing the outside. You want the artwork to face the inside of the canvas. So if you have a large canvas, make sure that you have somebody help you out, like my sister did here, and roll it up, not too tight. You want to have about depends on the size, but you want to have a good 4 or 5 inch diameter on the inside. If you roll it up too tight, you're going to crack your painting. So you want to make sure that it is relatively loose. 4 inches might still be too tight for most people, and make sure that you roll it up evenly. Now, once you're rolled up, you need to protect it. And I took it and placed it into a canvas roll holder. I have purchased some Clausen linen in the past, and I just take that roll and stick it into the Clausen linen holder. And that preserves or protects the outside. Make sure you put a cap on the top of it so that you don't get too much moisture in there or humidity and temperature change on the canvas, because that will really ruin your painting. So beyond that, here's the part where I break down the stretcher bars with a drill and unscrew everything, and it just collapses and comes apart. It is recommended when you're building your stretcher bars to have them every couple feet, a stretcher bar. Depends upon the thickness and all that stuff. But here I had about every 2 to 3 feet on those stretcher bars, and they held up really nice because it's basswood. And they're easy to break down because, again, it's basswood, which is relatively soft. All right. I hope that was beneficial and helps you out. You should be able to ship off your artwork with no problems. And once it gets to the location that you want, you just reverse it. You build the stretcher bars and then put the canvas on it and stretch it. It should be really easy to line back up and staple it back together. Okay, I hope that was beneficial, and I hope you have a stellar day unstretching your own canvas.